Capitalism that is controlled by the government, you know what the definition of that is? It's called fascism. We don't have capitalism in America. And for the left to say they need to champion communism because they find capitalism oppressive, they're not talking about the true Adam Smith type capitalism or the type of capitalism that Christ would promote. They're talking about fascism, which is state controlled. What is true capitalism? You know what true capitalism is? My property is mine. It doesn't belong to you, it doesn't belong to the government, it doesn't belong to anybody else, and I have the freedom to do with my property, even if it means profiting off my property. That is true capitalism. We haven't seen that in this country for how many years? Maybe about 100.
Welcome to Trading Post. You're live on the air.
Yes. Good morning, David. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning.
Scott up here at Face Cafe. Number one, I'd like to see that show be extended to about an hour at least. And on the wording, how they've changed. Most people are looking at the word deserve as a word of legitimacy. Yet they forget the word of earning. You know, to earn liberty, you get out there and do something peacefully, preferably. Now, also, people who stand ground are being labeled as domestic terrorists. And these are free people, peaceful people, but in order to turn the tide on them, they try to brainwash the bulk of the population. We call them domestic terrorists. Yet at the same time, the government is guilty of police terrorism and political terrorism. They're controlling all of our needs and telling us how to live. It's terrorism. And I'm going to stand back and listen to you guys.
Thanks, Scott.
You know, the word terrorism, and thank you, Scott. The word terrorism, if you go back into a law dictionary or dictionary back in the 1940s, meant a government that rules by terror. It has only recently taken on the idea that it's an individual that blows up a building. No, a government that rules by terror is a despotic force. And if the people want security more than liberty, it was Benjamin Franklin who said that they deserve neither. The woman that called in a few minutes ago railing on the American people is basically saying, look, we're getting the government we deserve. If we don't want to exercise our freedom, if we don't want to earn our freedom, if we don't want to be personally responsible with the exercise of our freedom, then of course the government's going to rise up to take it away from us because we're not responsible enough to stand up and exercise the principles of freedom against a government that is running amok, out of control. One more thing. If I, as a constitutionalist and a defender of the principles of the Declaration of Independence, am declared a domestic terrorist, what kind of terror am I striking? And why would the government consider me a terrorist? Because the government has come that far off the Constitution. The accusation itself that someone defending the principles of America, using love and integrity and honor and a little bit of pushback could be considered a domestic terrorist, is in itself an anti-American slur and an agenda to overthrow the American people, which is ultimately what the military and the police take their oath to support and defend, the people.